Kalena Vrindavana Keli Varta Lapte Titam Kyapayatum Vishishya Kripamritena Vishishescha Devas Patraiva Rupam Cha Sanatanam Cha. Manoramaji brought the name of one of the most important literary contributors in the Gaudiya tradition, Srila Rupa Goswami. So this verse describes Kalena Vrindavana Keli Varta. The topics of Brajabhumi Vrindavan were lost over a period of time. Lupteti. Lupta means it was lost. Tvam kyapayatum vishishya. And therefore Lord Chaitanya, who appeared in Navadvip 500 years ago in 1486 AD, had a desire to revive those pastimes. We are gathered here in India International Centre to celebrate the revival of the Ashta Nayika concept brought forth by Manoramaji and Jai Krishnaji through this English version. It's a revival, a concept which has always been there in our tradition but lost, but now we are trying to revive. But you'll be shocked to know that after Lord Krishna ended his pastimes at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna's great-grandson Vajranab was given the task of immortalizing Brajabhumi Vrindavan as the place of Krishna's appearance and pastimes. So it was Vajranab appointed by Maharaj Yudhishthir as the king of Mathura district, who actually took the help of Uttara, who was one of the few surviving ladies at that time. And using her help, Vajranab created 3 deities of Krishna. Because Uttara was the only one left who had seen Krishna personally, Vajranab needed her reconfirmation whether the deities made look similar to Krishna or not. So the 3 deities which were created were Madan Mohan, Govind Dev and Gopinathji. And these 3, along with Keshavji, were installed in Mathura, Vrindavan, and Vrindavan became a very flourishing metropolis filled with all kinds of devotion and pilgrimage. And it was flourishing for next 1000 years. But in 1000 AD, there was an attack by Mahmud of Ghazni, and then practically the whole of Vrindavan was covered over and lost to human society. The deities of Madan Mohan, Govind and Gopinath were hidden, and for next 500 years, most people are not aware that Vrindavan was not revealed to the world. It was just forest. There were no pilgrims. There was no kind of pilgrimages. They were just a few very deep divine transcendentalists who were performing their bhajan within Vrindavan. The nature of this world is, what to speak of other kinds of things which get lost. The very place of Krishna's birth and pastimes became lost for 500 years. And therefore, when Lord Chaitanya appeared in 1486, one of his main mission was to revive the glory of Vrindavan and reveal it to the world. And therefore, my dear friend Srivatsa Goswami ji from the Radharaman temple and also a Harvard scholar calls Lord Chaitanya the Columbus of Vrindavan, one who revived Vrindavan and revealed it to the world. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya came to Vrindavan in 1515 for only 2 months, and then gave the task of reviving and reproducing all the holy places to Rupa and Sanatana. And therefore, Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Tatvera Nirdhar Vaishnavera Kritya Ara Vaishnava Achar. So Lord Chaitanya gave the instruction to Rupa and Sanatan, you please go and revive these lost holy places. Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan Lupta Tirtha Uddhar Ara Vairagya Shikshan. So Lord Chaitanya gave instruction to Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, you have to do the following activities as part of your mission. First, you have to revive the lost holy places of Brajbhumi. Second, establish and find out where those deities created by Vajranabh are missing and lost, and establish temples for them. Third, and relevant to today's context, write literatures and books which actually bring forth how an ordinary person can engage in bhakti and devotion and revive their lost love for the Supreme Divine. Following that instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami arrived in Vrindavan in 1516. And from 1516 to 1534, for the 18 years, Srila Rupa Goswami first of all began his journey by studying Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. And based on the Natya Shastra, he connected the Natya Shastra to all the Puranic literatures, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then came out with his classic treatise in 1534, which is called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of devotion, which is nothing but just like an audience gets impacted by seeing the various emotions being portrayed by the actors and actresses on the screen, those emotions affect the audience. Similarly, each one of us, a soul, we are all an audience in the drama being played by the divine couple Radha and Krishna. And how we get affected and impacted by each and every act, dramatic gesture, and emotion exchange between the hero and the heroine, Radha and Krishna, and how it affects us is the entire gist of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that we get impacted by those emotions. And so Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, after 18 years of research, connected the dots and, as we say, took the deep science embedded within all the Vedic literatures, 4 Vedas, 18 Puranas, 108 Upanishads, Vedanta Sutras, and converted all of that into technology. Not too many people have patience for computer science, but anybody can use the Apple phone, because ultimately people want an app. So what Rupa Goswami did was took all of the science within the Vedic literatures of the Rasa, of the Bhava, of the Tattva, and then converted that into a readily usable app. And that is what was the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And therefore it is said that Krishna Tattva Bhakti Tattva Prema Tattva Sar Bhava Tattva Rasa Tattva Lila Tattva Ar. When you sit and hear any spiritual discourse, these are the 6 things which the speaker will reflect upon and speak, and these are the 6 things which enter into you and create transformation. Just like if you got a headache, then you take an acid tablet. From the user's perspective, you want the headache to go. But somebody who's a pharmacist and a medical student will understand what are the ingredients within that anacin. So therefore, for most of the audience, one is more concerned with hearing the katha. But as those who are trying to unpack what is the science behind the katha, these are the 6 things. Krishna Tattva, the Tattva of Krishna. Bhakti Tattva, the devotion, how to attain the process. Prema Tattva, the final destination and the experience. Bhava Tattva, the emotions. Rasa Tattva, the exchanges. Leela Tattva, the actual enactment of different activities and pastimes. So these 6 things is what creates the emotion within us, the transformation within us. When you hear any katha from the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, because all we know is the TRP ratings were highest during the COVID when Ramayana and Mahabharata were shown. But why? Because all of this are demonstrated through this. And therefore, when Rupa Goswami wrote this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that became the basis by which he demonstrated that how a layman can plug and play into the bhakti practice from being a novice to being a practitioner to being an expert. And therefore, those 18 years of hard work done by Srila Rupa Goswami to create the book, because we are all here to discuss about the launch of a book. And one may think, why is producing, publishing, or presenting books so important? Because people recognize buildings, they recognize infrastructure, they recognize creation of wealth, they recognize so many other things. But does modern society really understand the impact of a book? I will explain to you how that one book has impacted history. Because the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was written, bhakti or devotion, which was a mystery, which need to be extracted by going deep into multiple literatures, could now be easily accessed just through that one book. Fast forward, further Acharyas wrote commentaries on that book. And fast forward, in 1966, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada takes the message of the Gita and the Bhagavad and goes to America in New York and establishes ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And in 1971-72, Srila Prabhupada writes The Nectar of Devotion, a summary study of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, nobody in the world had heard of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was created out of Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra and combining that with the Bhakti Shastras. But then when Prabhupada unpacked it, published it, then gradually, when Prabhupada departed in 1977, already ISKCON had more than 5,000 devotees with 108 temples, because the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gave bhakti in the form of an app, where a new person walking into a temple without having any background in Sanskrit or Sanskar or any kind of Hindu thought could actually start practicing the process of chanting Hare Krishna and experiencing the transformation. A whole system was in place thanks to that one book. And today we have 1,300 temples of ISKCON in 120 countries with the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu published in 80 languages. With more than 1 million followers across the world, everything began from that one book. And therefore, I can see that what both the co-authors have done is created an excellent blueprint because all it requires is initially विचार. जब विचार बदलेगा तब व्यक्ति बदलेंगे, जब व्यक्ति बदलेगा तब व्यवस्था बदलेगी. तो आपने जो एक ग्रंथ निकाला है, इससे विचार बदलेगा. So therefore, when Srila Prabhupada stood at London, he was asked by a professor, he was asked by a reporter, Swamiji, why you came to London? Reporter asked. So Prabhupada said, Britishers spent 300 years in India looting the gold, emerald, ruby, jewels from India, but they forgot to steal the most precious jewel, Bhagavad Gita, uska home delivery karne mein aaya hu. And therefore, by publishing this book, you have added to the dimension of giving to the world an understanding of the ocean of wisdom which is there in our Bharatiya culture. Now I will end by sharing that out of these 8 different Nayikas mentioned in the Ashta Nayika, there is only one Nayika who has the satisfaction of being with her husband. Because I, honestly speaking, did not get the opportunity to read in much detail or anything. But you, as you said, you are nervous while speaking, whereas that is my main profession. So it doesn't take long for me to think of a few interesting thoughts on a topic. So when I was going through these 8, because I found it in the 119 from the index, from the contents page. And then out of the 9, I see out of the 8, 7 are frustrated in different ways. But the interesting thing is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dukkhale Mashashvatam. This world is a place of distress and suffering, which shows that the soul spends majority of the time suffering in separation from God. So viraha will always be a more prominent experience in life than sambhoga. And therefore, all of our wisdom literatures prepares us for distress, for vipatti, not for sampatti. We aspire for sampatti, but the reality is vipatti. And therefore, Mahavipattau samsare yasmaret madhusudana vipattau tasya sampatti bhavet ityaha shankara. All Vedic literatures teach us the method by which how you can use failure as stepping stone, how to transform your vipatti into sampatti. And therefore, whether in Ramayana or in Mahabharata, the heroes are always going through vipatti. And therefore, in a family, when the marriage happens and when the husband and wife come together on the day of the marriage and reception, everyone is smiling, everyone is congratulating. But then those who are coming and giving gifts, they are commenting to each other. Now their journey begins. So, in any relationship, there are 4 challenges. Pragada premera ei swabhava achar nijadukka bignadir nokkore vichar. In every relationship, there is scarcity, impediment, discomfort, unhappiness. Scarcity, discomfort, impediment, unhappiness. This will be there in any relationship. But in spite of that, when the relationship continues, that is called love. And therefore, the Ashta Nayika is an expression that in majority of the situations, we may be in a situation of distress and separation from the beloved. there will be a gap between our expectation and reality. We may be helpless, but do not become hopeless. So the first thing which I said was, out of the 8, 7 are in state of distress. But interestingly, there is no emotion where the lover is saying, I will leave the beloved. And that is the important thing to know, that in relationships and in families, there will be challenges, there will be impediments, but leaving was never an option in Vedic tradition. And therefore it was all commitment for life. So I was giving a lecture in a college outside of India, and a Western student was talking to me in Hindi. I was shocked. I looked at him and said, you look non-Indian, you look Western. How you speak Hindi? He said, I grew up in a multimillionaire family, but when I was 17 years old, I told my dad, you gave me everything in life, Dad, except the experience of what is family. Because when I was 2 years old, you were divorced. And I grew up always wanting the experience of relationships, of family. Today, a country like Luxembourg has 88% divorce rate. Spain has 65% divorce rate. France has 55% divorce rate. Russia has 51% divorce rate. The global divorce rate, America has 46% divorce rate. Global divorce rate is 44%. India still has the lowest divorce rate at 1% only. And you may wonder, why is a brahmachari quoting so many divorce statistics? Because the foundation for society is the healthy family unit. And therefore, Goldman Sachs came with a report that between 2015 to 2025, what will be the infrastructure investment required for Bharat? It is $1.4 trillion. From where that will come? $800 billion of that would come from family savings. So one of the biggest contributors to economy is not corporate, not the stock exchange, but the humble housewife who is keeping the family together. And therefore, when I actually, when this person took a flight and came to Varanasi, the son, to experience family, he saw, there is like a paying guest allowed. He went to this house and said, I want to be paying guest in your house. I want to be paying guest only for 2 years just to experience what is family. If you allow me, I will experience what is family for 2 years and give every month a rent of 1 lakh rupees. That family said, why 2 years? Stay whole life. And then they said, if you have other friends also who want to experience family, we can open 1 more room. We take certain things for granted. And therefore, the most powerful message which I get from Ashta Nayika is 7 out of the 8 Nayikas are in a state of lack of fulfillment of their cherished desire. But they are not walking out of the relationship. And that is what Bharat always was. When the first divorce happened in the early 1900s in India, it was headline in newspaper. And therefore, dear friends, as we celebrate technology, we are celebrating each member of the family busy, completely absorbed with their gadget, and totally oblivious of the presence of others in the family. Let this book, Ashta Nayika, wake us up to the importance of going deeper into every relationship, respecting every relationship, and reviving those relationships so that the family tradition can again be to its original glory. Otherwise, we will read about family only in dictionaries in future. Thank you very much.